poem is called In Summer Sea Gullets. And this is how it looks on the page. So it's a prose poem and it has lots of forward slashes. Shame-slicked hair salted by sea monsters, sea mothers. A mouthful of snail shells from the twilight of the sea. The sea mother says to birth it, I say gulls, I say girlhood, a thing that keens behind my ribs like a wind-choked kite. I tried to drown it in the bath. It floated, my bones buoyant from pretending the dead things in me should have learned to swim. Sharp girls shouldn't be sad. My mother laughed like a wave receding. I wear that sound around my neck. 2. The girls smelled like drier sheets. I smelled like barnacle-crusted nails. I bit my nails down to the silence, swallowed it, thought if I ate enough I'd disappear. I watched a gull tear open a trash bag and thought, same, thought, even sky things hunger for corrosion. Flight is falling out. 3. My sister missed the gulls fighting
truthful bones, didn't hear how they cackled like sleepover girls. I kissed a girl behind the bleachers, tasting gloss and dwindling sandholes. She called me bird-boned, and I almost said thank you. Almost said, look how I stay aloft with nothing but want. 4. In the basement of my mouth, the ghosts and their fading footprints rearrange furniture. I call it coping, my music, if you were a song. I don't speak in case the wrong name escapes. The gulls circle anyway. They always knew. They tear the day open like Sunday dinner. I let them. I fold the napkins into shapes of things I never became. 5. Depression is not metaphor. It's a gull with a rusted can around its foot, dragging it through the surf like a goddamn anklet. It's a girl who swallowed her sound for fasting. I am small enough to mourn, loud enough to stay. I open my mouth at the shore. The gulls scream through me, squawking like my mother tongue, my girlhood tongue, remembering to fly wrong with backbone. Thank you. Huge congratulations to all of the poets. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Gaining Carvers, for not only judging that, and you can see how many poems, 430, to get down to 100 and still be a hard process. Also some beautiful comments about the poems. I think they should all be really proud. And I also think that if you'd walked in here and didn't know we had just announced the youth section, you would be mistaken that it could have been the open section. We were indeed in the second section for the open. So well done to all those poets, because obviously the future of poetry is really bright when you hear what the youth is actually producing. So adults, be warned, they're coming at us, aren't they? Thank you so much. And look, it's really great to welcome in the room today Sarah Cole, and she is from the Lions Club Emerald, and they are the major sponsor of this section. So just a few words from Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, please. Short too.
Okay, so I probably won't be as eloquent as the masters of words that we've just heard right now, but I have had a lifelong romance with poetry. Firstly, I'd like to honour Maria Millers, as a real trailblazer and somebody who has been so dedicated and an advocate of the written word. And Emerald is very proud to call you a resident, Maria. The Lions Club is privileged to support a project that has become an outlet for writers, a pillar of our community and an initiative that has supported the art of words. The Lions Club are committed to supporting young people in their artistic pursuit and in endeavours that support their expression. In this political, economic, social context that we live in, the voice of young people should be encouraged. They need to be encouraged to project their voices, to be heard, and that is all part of creating the world that they will inherit from us. So the importance of this project, this initiative, I think can't be understated. So I'd like to very much thank Woorilla for inviting Lions to be a part of this process. And once again, we are enormously proud to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and indeed the Lions Club Emerald for being our new sponsor for that section. I did want to also mention the breadth of entries and where they came from throughout the world. So I think if you looked at all the locations, it's really interesting. We really are a global competition, so that's very, very exciting and great that they're writing it all over the world, as well as Australia. Actually, I don't know how many we have from Australia, a few, but yeah, very, very good to see it standing in the global setting. Now, we'll take a short break and we will be back for the open section, the Judith Rodriguez open section. But before I go, please have a look at the silent auctions if you can. And we do have the book raffle because, as we say, we are all volunteers. We all do this through donations, and every bit of money we have goes back into investing into this competition. So if you can, please partake in the silent auction. And if you're online, please donate as well. We'll be back very soon. Thank you.
you. We're going to play you a song that I wrote that was inspired by a photo of the current war that's going on in Palestine. And it hit me pretty hard. I saw a photo of a man who was holding a baby. And I'm a mother. And my response to that was to go away and write a song called No Ordinary Day. In your Bible, where does it say you should starve your people if they cannot pay? Open your Bible, where does it say you should neglect the poor, come what may? Open your Bible, don't hide behind it. Practice what you preach to me. Down the Bible, look each other in the eyes. You were just like him. You might be surprised. Oh no, oh no. The Holy Word, what does it say? You should starve your people if they cannot pay. The Holy Word, I'm sure it will say, turn the other cheek and do not retaliate. Open your eyes and you will see the only difference is the language that we speak. The Holy Word, look each other in the eyes. You are just like him. You might be surprised. Oh I hold on to hope, 'cause I have everything to lose. I hold on to my voice. I will speak louder for you. I will hold on to reason, because it seems like ours just gone bad. And I will hold on to my child, because she has the innocence that I once had. I saw an image of a man. He held his baby in his hands. The boy lay limp, the man was drowning in sorrow. It was just an ordinary day for him, just an ordinary day at war. What's in for? What's in for? 'Cause I will hold on to hope, 'cause I have everything. I will hold on to my voice. I will speak louder for you. I will hold on to reason, because it seems like our world's just gone bad. I will hold on to my child. She has the innocence that I once had. Hey, It's very rare for us to play without our very large band. So I don't know if I consider myself a poet, but I'm definitely a storyteller. So it's delightful to be in a room and getting to listen to such beautiful words. And I heard one where I went, oh, I want to make that into a song. I was like, I don't know which one. I think it was the second significant one, but it's very beautiful. I also really like the one about the cat. I'm a cat fan. So I'm going to play you another song. This is called Only Imagine, and it's about unrequited love, which I feel like we can all relate to at some point in our lives. Thank you for having us here today. It's been lovely. We're Rebellious Bird. Here I sit thinking about you, all my thoughts and scrambling to you. I can only imagine what I could be like with you, and will it ever come true? Try to touch you, try to hold your hand, but you move aside every time I reach out. I keep falling deeper down, but you will never let it catch me. I keep falling in love, but you're not there when I fall. And I can only imagine that I keep falling in love with you. Not there when I fall, so I can only imagine, feel my heart beating out of my chest. Every time I walk beside you, all I long to do is embrace you. But it is not reciprocated, so I try to touch you, try to hold your hand, but you move aside every time I reach out. I keep falling deeper down. You will never gonna catch me. I keep falling in love with you, but you're not there when I fall. So I can only imagine I keep falling in love with you. You're not there when I fall. Only imagine if you only knew. If you only knew. Hey, if you only knew. Hey, if you only knew. Here I am thinking about you, and all my troubles are coming true. I'll never find true love. Why I dream only of you. Here I am thinking about you. Here I am thinking about you. Here I am thinking about you. Here I sit thinking about you, all my thoughts are scrambling to you. I can only imagine what it's like to be like with you. Will it ever come true? Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for Rebellious Bird, Erin and Nico. Wow. Unrequited love, unravelling. These themes are cutting too close to the bone, I think. And I would have to disagree. I think that the written songs for, or lyrics for songs is just poetry with a melody. So I think indeed you are poets. So thank you so much. They were beautiful, lovely. Well, we are back, and we're back for the big prize of the Woorilla Poetry Prize 2025. And to get us back in the mood, we have a special treat all the way from Lightning Ridge. We welcome Melanie Hall and Susan Cargary. They are Australian bush poets and bush poet champions. But not only are they poet champions, they judge bush poetry competition, both written and performance, conduct workshops on writing, and they teach in schools.
They perform at concerts, festivals, clubs, everywhere. And they are here to kick off our second half of our prize. Bush bash your hands together for Mel and Susie all the way from Lightning Ridge.
Hello everyone, I'm Mel and I'm Susie and we are Australian Bush Poets. For our international guests, Bush poetry is a uniquely Australian style of reciting. We always do it from memory and it's rhymed and metered verse that always tells a story. We've been working together for a while now.
Almost 20 years, and we make our living as full-time performance poets.
So today, Maria asked us if we would perform for you a traditional Australian bush poem, of course, from the very first convict days through Banjo Patterson and Henry Lawson, all writing traditional Australian bush poetry. And this is a particularly lovely poem in our repertoire. It's called Books, and it was written by Zora Cross.
Zora Cross was born on the 18th of May, 1890. Her first edition of poetry, called Songs of Love and Life, sold out in 48 hours. She was quite controversial in her day because she wrote about intimate love between men and women. She was the first Australian woman poet to write on that subject. And this is her poem called Books. Bury me in books when I'm dead.
Bury me deep in love.
Fair quarto leaves of ivory and gold, and silk octavos bound in brown and red, that tales of love and chivalry unfold.
Bury me deep in love, take me in under your skin. Bury me deep in love.
Heap me in volumes of fine vellum, wrought with the close content of silent speech. Wrap me in sapphire tapestries of thought, from some old epic out of common reach.
Ooh,
I would my shroud were verse embroidered too, your verse for preference, in starry stitch, and powdered o'er with rhymes that poets woo, breathing dream lyrics in moon measures rich. Night holds me with a horror of the grave that knows not poetry, nor song, nor you, nor leaves of love that down the ages wave romance and fire in burnished cloths of blue.
Bury me deep in love.
Bury me in books.
Bury me deep in love. Take me in under your skin.
And I'll not mind the slow, cold worms that coil around my head, since my lone soul may turn the page and find the lines you wrote to me when I am dead.
Bury me deep. Bury me deep in love. So Zora Cross, very famous in her day, very controversial poet. We always say, even though she was born in the 1890s, that she wrote the first stalking poem, which is quite an astonishing piece of work.
Love in the Streets, and it's a free verse poem, one of my favourites.
So we toured Australia for 10 years. We had a crazy, wild Japanese library bus. I mean, how really incredible it is that two bush poets would be able to tour in a library bus. And we decided then, after 10 years on the road, doing schools, going to schools and doing performances and workshops for school children and performing in concerts around the country and judging as well, we decided that we'd stop and stick down here in Lightning Ridge, which for our overseas visitors, it's on the very edge of the Australian outback.
It's an opal mining town, and we have a theatre here called A Hidden Gem, where we perform a morning tour 7 days a week from Easter until October, and we also perform for the tourists in the evening for the same time of the year.
And again, for our visitors from other places, opal is Australia's national gemstone and one of the most beautiful stones that you'll ever see. So we're going to do another poem for you now. Again, we often perform in solo voice and we perform in duo voice as well, but this is one of our favourites. We've selected this because it's a poem from really the very first year that we started working together. It's a beautiful poem called Sunrise.
By a UK poet. I've cried too many wasted tears.
I've been a fool too many times.
I listen to my past and hear days with no reason, and no rhyme.
I've got the reins.
I'm in control.
I know what each new day is for.
I'm not too old to rock and roll.
And each new dawn's an open door. I am the sunrise.
I've done my time as woman's scorn.
I've done that. Sorry for myself.
But yesterday, my future dawn.
And my today's in perfect health.
My next mistake won't be my last.
I am not pure in word or deed.
I am the product of my past.
I am the mongrel, not the breed. I am the sunrise.
Through all those years, I didn't care, but now I've learned both yes and no.
I've seen the map to everywhere.
It's not too far.
It's time to go.
I'll take my place behind the wheel.
I'm not the passenger this time.
It's time to be the way I feel.
I am the sun.
You watch me climb.
I am the sunrise. So we've really enjoyed our time travelling and being bush poets. We've produced, I think, 7 CDs and a DVD, and nobody even knows what they are anymore, so that's fairly useless. But in the last couple of years, we've started to produce books. In association with Australian Geographic, we have produced an anthology of traditional Australian bush poetry, of which we're quite pleased because it's got all our very favourite traditional selections. And just last year, we produced a cookbook.
As part of our morning tea tour, we do a catered morning tea, and we had too many requests for the recipes.
So we produced a cookbook, and of course, it's got some poems in the cookbook. Well, how could it not? And in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, we've just produced an anthology of the poems of Milton Taylor, not only 6 times Australian champion and one of the greatest performers, one of the greatest writers in Australia. It's about preserving his legacy and his memory and, of course, his beautiful poems. So we've just produced that anthology of his work. Sadly, we lost Milton 10 years ago, and we're about to launch it. So really, bush poetry is our life. The researching and writing bush poetry is our life. We've just written about 5 years ago a little play about the lost women poets in Australia.
And it's wonderful to be involved with the International Poetry Awards and to sit here today and listen to the beautiful poetry that has been written.
Yes, thanks very much for inviting us along. We're very pleased to be able to do this with you today. I notice actually we've still got a few minutes up our sleeve, and I'm wondering if we might slip in one more poem. We'll have to get some instructions from Anna.
I think, have I got my mic there? Thank you so much, Mel and Susie. We probably only have time for the 2, which was amazing. Can we all give it up for them? How good was that? I love that. 1890 and sold out in 48 hours. I was thinking, I had to go, was that online? Did you see 2?
And 40,000 copies.
Interesting was to hear a different rhythm to that poetry. So thank you so much for them, all the way from Lightning Ridge, and they did plug a few things there. So, I didn't hear that.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, 22nd day. Well, we're all back in the room now, so I'll just wait for the text to give me the okay. And we're all good. Okay, so we're back for the second half, and we do thank Mel and Susie for coming all the way from Lightning Ridge. Now, as mentioned, we have had the highest entrance over both categories in the Woorilla Poetry Prize, long history, and the trend is always up and expanding, which is really exciting. And that's testament not only to the Woorilla Poetry Prize, but to the value and relevance of poetry as an art form in this literary space. So I kind of feel happy and sad for Andy Jackson at the moment to be welcomed to the biggest pool of entrants so far.
So let's see how we tackled it. Without further delay, let us show our appreciation with the loudest poetic applause. Please welcome Andy Jackson to the stage for the Rodriguez Open section.
Yeah, wow. So many poems. I think first I want to just say a huge thank you to Maria and everyone behind the Woorilla Prize. What a tremendous opportunity it is for poets. I know that, looking at previous winners, that winning this prize is often a real encouragement and a milestone in a developing poet's career. And even a long-established poet, people can be, it can be a real kick for them. So it was a real responsibility to take this on. I should say a couple of weeks ago, I was just catching up with an ex-student of mine, and like all poets, perhaps, he was worried about whether his work was going to get published. Is it going to fit in? Is it good enough? How could he possibly make his poems as good as they could be? And I just say I sympathized with him. It's incredibly hard to finish a poem, to push it as far as it will go without overworking it. I remember telling him as we were, going our separate ways that yes, it's the opening of the poem, the start, the first line that is the most important. That's the hardest. And then I thought for a moment and thought, actually, yeah, well, the ending, that's also the most important part and really hard. And then I thought, oh, actually, yes, the middle bit, that's also really hard and really important. I read at least 480 poems for this prize. And I think I want to echo a few things that Ghislaine said today, that, and I'm not just saying this, every poem I felt the significance of the voice behind the poem. I sensed that what was behind that was a real sincerity and a real effort to speak poetic truth. And it was a beautiful thing to read all those poems. But I had to cut them down somehow. And I think what I did was just halve them on and on and on. All I can say really is that the poems that stayed with me, the poems that kept remaining within that super long list, and then the long list, and then the short list, and then the super short list, were those poems to me that were unpredictable, where I forgot that I was judging a prize and I was just immersed in the poem itself. Those poems that were engaging, that kept holding me, that were well crafted, all the details really fell into place. And also those poems that I think were not too long. They weren't thinking, oh, I've got 80 lines, I'll just use them all. But also they were long enough. They didn't just say something and run away and like, what else is there? They found their right length. They were the length that the poem needed to be. So at some point, I think I was around 50 poems left, and then it was a matter of reading them over again and again and again. And what I found, I think, finding this list of highly commended poems and the runner-up and the winner, were those poems that not just had an immediate impact on me, but held that impact the more I read them over and over. And in fact, some of them just kept getting better. So I think if I read these, keep reading them, they'll get even more amazing. Each word mattered and contributed to the building of a human space. I was also reminded reading these of a really wonderful quote by the Australian poet Richard Tipping. He has this as a sign as well, you can see around in various places. And it simply says, poetry is the selection and rearrangement of silences. So many of these poems are long, but they all include silence, and they include uncertainty and unknowing. And that's one of the most beautiful things that I encountered through this. So I think, without further ado, I think we should read the commended poems. There are 5 of them. And I just want to say before we read them, a very short note that these commended poems ask some very deeply personal and also some vast, big questions. They cover war, they cover the climate crisis, the seeking of asylum and its aftermath. They talk about cancer, they talk about life and death and the decomposition that weaves those things together. They approach their themes unpretentiously, using language and sensory images that are original, lyrical, and moving. So I'm really glad to introduce these poems to you. The first one, and in fact, when I mention them, I'm going to check if the poet is in the audience. I know that this first commended poem, the poet is in the audience. The poem is called Scintillation Wave Functions, and it's written by Alicia Sometimes, who is here with us, fortunately. So Alicia will read her poem.
This is a major surprise, and it's the first time in a very, very long time that I've submitted to this prize. So thank you. I love it. Thanks, Andy. For now, I am the neutron star, adrift in Cancer sequence, colliding with mortality. My left breast emitting gamma rays as radio tracers firework their way through tissue, kilonovas of flesh, radioactive rosette calibrations, a marquetry of curlicues. Against the strobe-eyed windows of screen, this splendour of display darting to amplify discarded components, deciding precisely what will be left inside. For now, I transform into magnetic fields and radio waves spiraling, magnetic fields and radio waves spiraling in absence of information, MRIs scanning assemblage of bone structure. The expansion of every quaver and note of my body, conversing with my younger self. The undiluted and adamantine strength of someone who thinks they have a strong point. This dissonance of arguing yourself into hope. For now, I am insightful coordinates of information, position, time, momentum, spin, perspective. I hold still for radiation, summoning the honed pendulum of patience, a tendency to switch between rival beings, one who can withstand any amount of pain and the other who flinches at interpretations of wreckage. For now, I am in stasis. Moonlight looms along fences, my nervous system, a trajectory of Shallow Valley anticipation. A vignette of tomorrows registering under mild skies, a way forward, piercing through uncertainty beyond all confines of space and time. Reverberations, I become the pulsar, shedding every morsel of fear. Until then, on high alert, living in microstates of existence, a universe of radiant magnitudes. For now, I am home.
Thank you. Get the mic back in a second. Okay, so the next commended poem is Meeting Feral Ends, and it's by Alicia Brown, who is not here. So, of course, using flowers. Do you want to read the poem for us?
Meeting Feral Ends. Am I on? Yeah, Meeting Feral Ends by Alicia Brown. This house is full of damp. Algal spores bloom and retch in upper corners, starching paint, bluing the edges of our vision. All my leather fur coated in chalky scum. Your books wilted and musty with mycelium, chitin morphing its own fictions, scaling its own truths. We take turns with the vinegar, bleaching bed frames, coffers, sloughing funk from window slats. You peel back the carpet and gasp, a strawberry flush of fungus blinking in the light. I think of My grandmother's garden, sluiced chins and sticky fruited fingers. Her hands speckled like eyes that stared too long at the sun. I'd watch her milk dart liquid from the worm farm, molasses fat with life, nematodes and nitrogen, sweet fertility pong. I'd raise the bucket to my face and breathe. How many organisms have we been? Bread bruised biofilm pools, mites that mulch the dirt. If we are here to pear and peat, to rot the long rimes of our years into olive trees, why stop the spread? A world of mould would be a living one. The worms are dead. Heat fell in yeasty sheets and turned their guts to grit. Then the fire. We came back to nothing. I dragged the melted plastic through the ash and sat looking out over scorched stringy bark. The sun hung, and there goes my microphone. The sun hung like a shriveled berry in the sky, hung like a shriveled heart. And then the flood. How will I tell my children we didn't do enough? Enzymes ventilate through light, snow-like, larvae of an ever-wriggling threat. We wipe the drawers. There is a daisy on the counter, meeting feral ends.
The next commended poem is called Inheritance, and it's written by Vaughn Fan from Ipswich in Queensland. I'm going to read this one, and it starts with actually 3 epigraphs. It's quite bold, really, 3 epigraphs for a poem. The first one is from Eileen Chong, and Eileen's poem Burning Rice. Finally, the harvest. Sharp sides glinting in the afternoon sun, stalks of ripened grain tossed into baskets, strapped onto backs like babies too young to walk. Next, the rice huller, churning husks away from their hearts. And the next quote is from W.S. Merwin, The Night of the Shirts. The boat has not turned to stone, and the dark wires to the bulb are full of the voice of the unborn. And the final quote is from Sarah Holland Batt, her poem The Gift. We sit as if mother and son on Christmas Eve, waiting for midnight to tick over, anticipating the moment we can open his present together. First, my father holding it up to his ear and shaking it, then me helping him peel back the paper. So this is Von Fon's poem Inheritance. Lightning flashed skeleton white. I saw the face of my father's father's father and many others in flooded paddies, planting seeds, the relentless labour in hulling rice husks, separating their hearts into the one meal of the day, one tiny bowl the size of famine. The harvest sent away to the state, they hoist sacks on their shoulders like toddlers too malnourished to walk. I thought of the men who made me, their spines like bamboo, their hands furrowed from iron ploughs, their heads heavy in the rice stalks, and the emptied paddies inherent in me. I watched lightning crack in desiccated fields and a sickle moon that carved ancestors' bones. I saw thousands of acres of scar tissue. Then the wet season spilled, and landscapes bled into rivers that stretched their arms into more rivers, hoping for another body. The fields ran down into the ocean's despondent reflections that depicted my father, disguised now as a fisherman among fish scales, slippery as hull puddles. Silver skeletons of a boat lay hidden in a basement at Aral, assembled from black market scraps. I saw my father among silhouettes of palm trees, confessing nothing amongst themselves. I saw them shipwrecked in shadows, fireflies like sparks where one starless night is welded to another. Then I watched my father escape at midnight on a boat towards the nervous shudder of an autumn sea. where distant clouds raised their white flags and the passengers surrendered to the mood of the dark waters, foul as Ho Chi Minh's scowl. 70 people packed into one vessel, the weight of all those bodies sinking it close to the waterline. This wreck of ribs drifted into the 6th day, and their time was measured in mirages with promises empty as rationed water bottles. Groaning a solemn tune in the wind that fainted. All the rice stalks soured. Then urine was their only oasis in the heat wave of the sea's mass grave. No ecclesiastical eulogy was offered in the dehydrated waters. Then the lightning flared like souls lifted from bodies. If not for the storm releasing its artillery fire of fresh water, their lives would have been lost. God played the air piano, the black note shoals, the water's shining ivory, the sunken cathedral by Debussy. They saw a mast like a steeple rising from the sea's wreckage. Lightning flashed skeleton white. The wakes of other refugee boats scattered the luminescence. For 600 miles south from Vietnam to Pulau Bidong, waves bore the dying dusk, refusing to let go of its gold. My father didn't turn into salt, for he didn't look back at his city burning, but saw pillars of light at the refugee camp in the kerosene lamps, full of unborn voices. The half-moon caught in barbed wire at Malaysia's border, entangled in months, turned to years. All the prayers of those refugees rose toward a high tide at another shore that gathered adrift bottles, filled with moonshine, scattered with messages unwritten, in them, in me. And now, on a continent a long way south, tonight the open windows of my childhood home frame the multitude of stars, gazing down upon us like remnants of light that had long departed. Those ancient eyes watch my father, the same way my father watches me on Christmas Eve, near the arrival of midnight, anticipating the moment we open the family inheritance. I hold the box up to my ear and shake it. He watches me as I unwrap it, a boat in a bottle. We hang it from a mantel above the fireplace. Its glass shines incandescent as his eyes. Among all their eyes, sea-filled, peering back at embers making ashes of their homeland, whose shoreline the waves glaze like windows of a home looking on other homes, shattered after the bombs. The war goes on. Father hands me the red envelope. I open the New Year's blessing, the lucky money, the currency of a Horma tree, struck by lightning, burning. The next commended poem is called Ban. Yes, certainly. I'll closer to the microphone. The next commended poem is called Ban the Bomb, and it is written by Isabella G. Mead, who lives in Kew in Melbourne, who is not here. So if you'd like to read the poem, thank you.
Ban the bomb. Now is the time to write about stones. Pumice is paler than scoria. Each is volcanic. Only one will float on water. Both forget the heat of their making. Public memory is as porous and prone to ex-solution. Once cooled, it resembles something other than what it was. This is how we forget the dead, forget those who perforate the lungs of the living so that we are always riddled with small holes. Sarsen and bluestone make up Stonehenge. Over the standing stones, 10 letters were painted, photographed, scrubbed away. Now people shroud the stones in powder. Orange-tinted cornflower stipples lichen, coheres in creases, forms lines and suggestions of curls, proto-writing in high-vis. Yesterday, no one much cared for lichen, but today, those who threaten the sea ivory are reviled. They are called lichen killers. The softest stones, talc, gypsum, calcite, teach us not to fear. All washes out with water. Let us then shower the people in praise, gentle touch. What else are stones for but to mark? Coal and oil shale for setting a light. Memories of carbon, even a diamond held over a flame will eventually smoulder. More similar than we admit. Like stones, we respond to heat and pressure, commit to a future of our making. The fire will come from above and below. There is no mystery. We will burn for this. The time to write about stones is over.
And the final commended poem is called A Songbook for Birds. And this poem is called A Songbook for Birds, and it is written by Carolyn Leach-Pahalski from Box Hill South. This is a poem in sections. I think there's 4 sections. It begins with a quote from Jeffrey Eugenides. In each of these stories, either there is a sparrow or the sparrow is dead. Messengers. A songbird attempted to wake a soldier fallen at Passchendaele, whistling a tune learned to beg crumbs from the trenches. And 2 days later it was seen again, trying to fit a berry to the dead man's mouth. 3 stripes on what is left of his uniform. In the breast pocket button, the bird looks for the moon. A 4-day ceasefire, the stretcher bearers being followed by a bird like a blacked-in thought balloon. 5 a.m. funeral, a mud hat for his head. Clouds kneel by his grave. A telegram, but what it can't say is that your son is 6 feet under, an undrained field too poor to keep a cow on. Or that Dante's 7th ring of hell has nothing on this. Or give a reason why the blackbird has changed its song. Questions delivered in falsetto as if in the voice of a bird. Is it possible that birds are lucid dreaming and can't really fly? When the therapist asks what brought me here, should I break into song? When Mary Oliver proposed that every poem should have a bird in it, did she mean just one? Do we know why doves cry? Of a swan's neck, question mark or longing? Pray, what was missing from the Americas that Schifferlin needed starlings? Unattributed item, a necklace made entirely from the breast feathers of Laura Keats. Dear curator, whose kaleidoscope eye, whose ninja fingers? When police tear-gassed the Mongkok protest, how many birds fell dead from the sky? Messengers 2. Your devotion to swans didn't worry me. You were St. Francis to everyone with wings. Their clouds just before rain, white breasts among the orange bill. What other colours could you want? Until the black swan. I record the commingling voices of Currawongs performing their sorry, sorry all afternoon. I label it listen and save it as your ringtone. Now I like to think your lectures are interrupted by the cascading minor key of songbirds and that the students turn their heads as one towards the non-existent window. When we first met, you kept a bird skull on your bookcase, weightless, almost, white as a milk tooth in a water glass, his eyeless sockets round with wonder against a sky of book jacket blue. You suggest we make a podcast of his imagined utterings, his lunatic falsettos and inflections, in language and untranslated, broadcast on a wavelength received exclusively by birds. Or, here's a notion, you could incorporate him into a painting, a spot of light like Beattie's sparrow, there and then, blink, not there. I lift the skull to my eye and inhabit him, my blue as the sky iris looking around inside his head. I've read that it's one for sorrow, but these days I hear you go after choirs of swans in their sway back, upholstered black, looking like hand-cut Hans Christian Andersen silhouettes in free fall from his oversized party trick shears. Would Andersen ever have chanced upon a black swan? Too late to ask around before you ring, but I know in my glass half-empty heart, before you begin to speak, you will say, the sparrow is dead, or the sparrow's mistress is dead. And preparing myself for this end, I pick up my pen. In the final section, Messengers 3. Sometimes a bird stops by. A cartoon that runs along the vines, cul-de-sacs and roundabouts and no GPS, only a bird brain tuned to collecting bugs. For all his busyness, the bird's not yet clocked the snail wearing his shell like a cap tipped back on his head, but if he sticks to his path, then their shadows will cross like time travellers living years apart, yet for a moment touching. For a while, as in a Chinese shadow puppet theatre, the actors cross and recross bridges, turn into swallows, or fall when they are meant to fly. A bird holds a cicada like a cigar, and ants carry the wing of a moth, bronze dust falling from it onto their proletarian boots. A skink unshutters its eye to reflect a cloud that is blocking the sun. His eyes snap shut and the story is over. Maybe the Tang dynasty is done in that eye blink, or maybe we are. Maybe the road just runs out, or the bird comes to a bending bit of wisteria and his nerve fails. No announcement, just a dip and a jink and a sidelong look as the crimped foot uncurls, feeling for the future. These next poems are the highly commended poems. So, it's so hard to separate them, always hard to separate them, but these are the ones for me which also tackle perennial and crucial predicaments: homelessness, a dying parent, our relationship to animals, insomnia, and trauma. These poems do exactly what the commended poems do, but they're also incredibly inventive in the way that they take shape on the page and in their voice. These are poems that followed me around. Some of their phrases and their atmospheres really haunted and nourished me. So let's read these. This first one is, well, actually, we surprisingly, we won't read this one, which is The Night My Dad Left We Ate Lobsters, which is in fact a slightly altered version of one of the poems that was successful in the junior competition. From Adelaide Sandolensky. Yeah, congratulations to Adelaide for that poem, it's beautiful. We'll move on to Annie Christine from New York, USA. And their poem is Psychnautical, The Dolphin House. You happy to read that one? Yeah. I will say before you read this is that there's a story behind the poem which he references in a footnote. It's the story of a scientist who wanted and tried to communicate with dolphins, tried to get the dolphins to actually talk to her. And this poem is actually in the voice of a dolphin. So it's incredibly inventive. So yeah.
I'm not going to deliver it in the voice of a dolphin. There are two epigraphs to this poem. The first is by Andy Williamson from The Girl Who Talked to Dolphins. It was great that she wasn't going to be damaged by that, but as a veterinarian, I wondered about poor Peter. This dolphin was madly in love with her. And the second is from Florence and the Machine from the song Kiss It With a Fist. A kick to the teeth is good for some. A kiss with a fist is better than none. Shallow lowering. I asked Margaret if the electrical sign that initiates her heartbeats is a choice, and she said to me, "No, Peter, say it like this. She doesn't know that the sonopictorial depiction of my reply hitting her body is a pictogram that translates into "you bind yourself in power." The man loves her, but won't stay near her bucket of food. I swallowed a fish whole without chewing, not knowing if this is how others do it, until she pressed my neural network of tissue and I accessed the living system of my kin. My teeth are just for her. Her mind was somewhere else, fiat currency or shallow democracy, when I saw colours in the dim light of her touch and nowhere else. Later, terrestrial. I remained in the tank while also entering atmospheric waters after the man drugged me. It wasn't disassociation. If there were a word in any language that meant joy derived from one's own misfortune, more people would be able to experience that state. Ever since the man interfered, I choose both to live with Margaret now and Margaret in later Earth. We're the happiest again, but only because there we started living in our shared present and past simultaneously. In the future, the Transtemporal Contrast Company promises clients a shamanic twice-born high after they experience a premature death in the past, and then continue living on in the present. For so many of my future selves, anticipating my current self's death is the only way they can feel pleasure. Your word, mindfulness, proves you are ignorant of your own capabilities. But no matter what I know, I'm still here living this horrible life 2 times concurrently, just for some peak bliss, and nothing is enough. Toward wardship. Since the word smile is a jaw that creates a low drag profile, I understand she wants to be slower when she admonishes me. It doesn't matter to me why. My torso propels us, but the white ring painted around her mouth and her instruction for me to look at it. A steelhead trout can migrate from saltwater to freshwater to spawn while a parasite swims inside her eyeball, as it must be. Every day, I send Margaret the 18.98 Hertz frequency, the infrared a human eyeball shakes to, a moan that is an order to kill the nearest animal or to pick the closest mate. I'm not naive enough to think that if she complies, she will only do one or the other. But when I send out the same frequency, a mother dolphin sends her adult offspring during a time of crisis. It's because I need Margaret to know she is my family. I looped I love you through 2 different sound channels at the same time, each modulating separately in varying timing patterns and pitches, each hitting her from different directions, just for her to say, try it again. I will force my air wherever she tells me, into whatever position that resembles speech, and lips and fingers and a tongue turned back that rises from top through sides and again between, claiming her screams and sounds as my own until she screams, stop.
This next highly commended poem, there should be an award for the most original title. So this poem is called Homeless with Ian Thorpe, the Redeemer. And it is written by Hannah McCann. It's also a prose poem. It's in 6 short sections. Mine was a first-name mother. Our weatherboard house, so blue, no fly screen rental, pinned butterfly to salt wings of the headland, not locked. Even when those girls from high school went missing, that sinking concrete memory, back porch, round mouse who ate the other, let her loose in the dark shed, gnawing sockets, crossed wires flashing under curtains, carpets jumping with fleas, canisters of poison sizzling small bodies, whizzing like rockets. That cardboard quick pack when the landlord sold. 2. Timely neighbours holidaying, I became the girl next door. Wooden wallpaper and brown speckled carpet, placed in a room full of trophies. How things gather dust when they don't have to move. Frilled lace blunting all angles. Puzzles on walls glued. Kittens. Child-sized dolls leaning head to wall. First name mother trying to brush the matted Pomeranian living in the chicken wire yard. Carrying my CD player and diary, listing all the things I love. Dessert, God, Ian Thorpe, ducks. 3. Another neighbour, spare room. Bunk bed as a kinesiologist. Take care with details. First name mother gives annotations. We never owned a duck. That was your grandmother. I own this memory because I'm writing it. It was just me in dim light next to the skeleton, balls of blue tack at the bunk wall, a magazine square of Ian Thorpe, those medal-winning pecs. 4. Isolating to beach end of school holidays, a holiday house in the trees, bellbirds zipping like sirens, diary hearts for boys on the new school bus, wishing for place for him to save us, praying alone under the sheets. First name mother calls it codependency. I insist on decorating my temporary room with an open umbrella. 5. House with first name mother's friend, a collage artist, tearing tiny strips, a madness of newspaper. I'm receding into an aura when my period arrives, with flashing lights on eye jelly, that occipital strobe, sponge squeeze insides, clutching to vomit in the sink, pasting magazines into mandalas. A friend changes her mind. 6. First name mother finds a rental on the main road, stream of cars washing air with their streaks. Cottage crouched on big lawn block, picket fence of dreams, dark green insides, flocked bouquet print, waiting for ducks to lay eggs for birthday cakes. A boy on my double bed, an unopened prayer book, a real kitten, rear view ocean, Ian Thorpe splashing in the distance, safe like a butterfly caught in chicken wire, a whole year until we dust off the cardboard boxes from the shed. The second last of the highly commended poems is called Fractured Insomnia Gussel, and it is written by Eddie Popper from Marrickville in Sydney.
Nights, that familiar silver howl from somewhere in the moon dust. The bone marrow grew musty, homesick for its old cortisol, a moon aglow in borrowed sun. Footprints of the once-was child unseam the spine. Now, porous, sleep pours out of you, spied nightly by an owl-eyed moon, her talons dug through night's dark bark. Her claws bore holes, we call them stars. Hunched and hunting, prowling west, there's no moon but a mother's eye. The owl's is sharpened on the dark. At the child's half-grown feet, a shed skin of childhood puddles in a crumpled moon. Would it still matter who drew a fist, whose hand on whose neck, whose bruise? A lamplit living room, the mirrored light, a topaz moon winking in fillet knife, stainless steel bone. The fish slit down its spine, the family seamed, the fish deboned, scales flake, its yellow jellied moon eye either stares or doesn't. The mother lifts its skin, it parts as pages of a book. A wedge of lemon in its flesh, the walls watch on, cold 70s stucco like moon rock, miniature mouths, and a million stippled eyes. They swallow your secrets, keep them safe in plaster and paint. What the walls would say should the moon subpoena them. For now, their mouths are plastered, placid. From the bedsheets, sweep the crumbs of childhood, sleep. They fall in a bowl of an emptied moon. Dependent and so close to creation, the child still believes in gods. But there are no gods, only people. No people, only jostling gods. People sipping silver from moons and tasting the bitterest ways to be gods. The child unfolds from the cortisol ball, fingers slit on a broken bowl. Blood spatters in bits or stars. When it fell, the moon smashed. Now the child, a shard, slammed door, back to wall, broken cord, whiplash, asphalt, shard kneeling, ashy, asking, and the silent sentry moon. There is no tail on, but how the past hooks the body nerve bore. Through memory's mouth, the child steps and steps and steps into an older skin, an open moon-like O. A wound is a mouth with something to say. Trauma is a mouth remouthing what it knows, working the words against its teeth. The moon oozes mirrored sun, old time, old light, uncoagulated blood. To protect itself, the mind dismembers the narrative. The child tries to remember what the moon had witnessed too. When oysters eat a parasite or sand grit, they secrete soft nacre. Layering by inching layer, the thing of pain becomes a small pearlescent moon. In time and tide, we'll smooth the shards as students of oceans, sleepless oceans roped to moons. The parents were scarred as children too. So the scarred learn to scar divots on the skins of moons. There are no gods, only people. No love like how we suture our scars. No eye but the moon. You'll molt and remould to the rhythms of wax, wane, wax. These ever reblooming moons.
In anticipation, we're getting much closer to the winner. This is the final, I guess it's the final highly commended poem. You may have to turn me up. I don't think I can possibly put it inside my mouth without popping it. This final highly commended poem is called Father Poem, and it's written by Tim Loveday from Fitzroy North. I hear my father is dying now. I hear the heart, which was never any good anyway, is giving out. And when he sits to rest, he sits for far too long inside himself, as if an antique clock, a measure of sprig and jut and silo, a haunting unto himself. It is strange to think on how those things we fear will die, or at least grow weak, quiet. The dog with his teeth is a prophecy of ash. Even the car speeding toward us, its certain headlights, will lay in weary woods one day and turn to hillock. How then to be the boy before the lesson? That the way through bone is to build an empire of it. Death was always on the cards, that means of self-regard, of knowing. That dying child that never dies, that killing urge, the fury of three syllables, my father, my father. I hear that you are dying now, or perhaps I wished for it. Perhaps the poem is violence and no escape, no way of saying no, 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 just cloth cut too tight. A device, not a divide. Here is our inheritance that ferries us all to sinking, that boards the windows with brick. I will always be scared of you. I will always be scared of you in the way that a man who is robbed of his childhood is never quite a man. I will always sit inside myself, cocoon myself in this stanza, sorry away those sorry years as if searching for the sonic of sorry in lineback or in German. I will always die for your dying, though hope for the night closing the window, the dog at one's feet, the shy lyric. I'm certain it was there in you, that shy lyric too. Where can I find it now, Father? Not in this house, no, and not here either. Perhaps not even in your body, that centrifugal force, that poem before the poem. Where can I find you? The heart I've heard is giving out. Okay. I found it really fascinating. I talked before about silence, about including silence in a poem. I found it fascinating that both the runner-up and the winning poem were kind of both maximalist poems. They were big and they fitted a lot into their world. But they used silence as well in very subtle, implicit ways. The runner-up poem is an unsettling, vivid, darkly funny kaleidoscope of a poem. A kind of short film set in a hospital where death is very close. Also close is Mount Fuji, the iconic Japanese mountain, as a metaphor for stillness among the chaos and distress. And this stunning prose poem gives us humanity in extremis, full of absurdity, pain, and love. The poem is 50 Famous Views, and it is written by Emily Zoe Baker. Okay. I hope she's better soon. So, are you happy to read 50 Famous? Yeah.
50 Famous Views. The meditation technique instructs us to treat every thought as a cloud passing. I pretend I am Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji does not react even when it's a cumulus clusterfuck. Ram Dass said, if you want to see God, go to the emergency ward. I remember this as I am holding Michael's hand. Here we are, then, looking into the googly eyes of God, slapsticking it to us. If I die, yells a woman 2 beds down, there will be blood on your conscience. A naked man wearing an open hospital gown backwards walks the ward, his penis bobbing like an apple in a bucket. The boy next door is handcuffed to his bed. A cop sits like a mushroom by his side. There's a snipped ponytail on the ground near the toilet. Red swollen legs poke out of fluorescent white sheets. Rubber pillows roll. Mount Fuji watches clouds pass like ticker tape. Michael's jaw is trembling, but his hand is still, and I hold it. I have to be the sea wall he can crash against. He's furious, even turned down his complimentary endo. There's so much water. Mount Fuji is a volcano. The man within the next curtain is being told he has cancer. His wife is a patient at another hospital. We can wheel her over so you can be next to each other, the nurse jokes, and they laugh like they would at a funeral. He is going to die, there's no getting out of it. Mount Fuji is making magmatic noises like a stomach. The kitchen staff are on strike, so all Michael gets is a piece of white bread. After he eats, I watch him drift on his rubber pillow. There is no weather on Mount Fuji now. I can finally close my eyes. When I sleep, I leave scribble in the sky.
Okay, the winner of the Woorilla Poetry Prize this year has a deceptively casual title and a deceptively casual tone to his voice. But soon enough, we realized that the poem is built on a really intense music and an invigoratingly wide lens. With its long lines and its 3-line stanzas, its associative leaps are both laconic and profound. Its argument that humanity is not only mired in war and climate ill health, but also by nature capable of selfless generosity, convinces us not through reason but through image and the song of itself. This poem is a beautiful, timely, compassionate achievement, and I'm really proud to announce that the winning poem is Stream of Consciousness at the Blood Donation Clinic, and the poem is written by Edie Popper from Marrickville in Sydney. So congratulations, Edie. Whatever you have. Yes, Edie also was highly commended. So, very impressive. It's been a few people with multiple poems. It's really fascinating. Okay, so I will read the poem. It is called Stream of Consciousness at the Blood Donation Clinic. The nurse approves my blood pressure, hemoglobin, tattoo history, so she noses in the needle. The tubing tugs me from myself and runs with carmine wine. Saline for the fluid lost, citrate for the clots. In clicks and whirs I infuse through centrifuge. In an hour there'll be a bag of me hanging, head down, a glad-wrapped bat, or a scoop of Twilight's burgundy blush. 2 midnights ago we were transfusing bag after bag. A pre-loved heart was settling into its adopted pericardium. The cut mouths of newly long vein roots were debating with the sutures. Returning from night shift to daylight is neurochemically deranged. The government was still selling steel for F-35s to bomb kids in their tents. More of the world getting sick with heat. My mind was finding it harder to negotiate with grief. So I came to the clinic to hook back into the rhizosphere. For company, a muted TV, this vinyl chair, a book about mushrooms. These days, strangers can share the blooms of our marrow and become unstrange. Page by page, I wander down a stranger's brain. I carry a pen to mull in the margins. Someone saw those scribbles once and called them sacrilegious. I disagree. I was asked what draws me to libraries, bookshops, street-side book huts. I said it was awe. Awe at this vast frog spawn of thoughts, the work of hands, the water between us, welling from minds, the messy loam. The tongue of earth is circles and flows. Energy isn't made, nor destroyed, but always seeks to metamorphose. A wandering river wends in and away, comes and goes, leaves us thirsty, needy, animal. And every river needs a spring. There are many ways to be someone's tributary. Antibiotics dropped to a friend's front door, an outlaid arm, these IV lines, red rivers up sterile tubes. We give tribute to each other as sea to clouds, clouds to river, river to sea. My thoughts are porous with the world's great weave of words, not unlike the undersoil, nerves and mycorrhizae. A rowdy loam where trees intone in pheromonal phonemes, discussing which spots to grow for sun, which oils to blotch near fungal blots, whose blooms have been kissed by which bees, tonguing sap and sugar and feed. Not unlike the river placenta where the birthing body bifurcates, porous to the new little weave, cord cut and bundled in foil, a first shock of cold air. Mouth bowed for milk, the mother open at the nipple, her tributaries of ducts. Downy head, unsutured skull, pillow to the breast. This gift thinking is what comes most easily to birth. Market economies teach Darwinized minds. All dog eat dog and man for himself. I don't believe in it. After floods, neighbours help neighbours find food, move mud, relight their lamps. After his daughter's diagnosis, a father swallows anaesthetic and surgeons give her a third of his liver. The father's liver returns his gift by regrowing what was given. He visits in slippers and ID band, their mirrored scars crimping shut. She fears needles, nurses, nights. He offers his hand. His own gifts to someone dying are small. Mint for the mouth, their favourite songs, the phone sat slant. Swap the top light out for buttery lamps, silverline rubbed down Payne's new sinews. To wash in soaks, small tub, warm water, wet cloth. A brush, a braid, a soft hairband to unmist the knots of bedness. Pillows, the pliable moons, soft hills of egg-cup foam, jelly, syrups, sub-cup meds. We measure the tempo of dying in hands. When I end, I hope someone recycles me. My aortic valves could wean in someone else's heart. My cornea could toss colour onto someone else's retina. Some are choosing to return to the sands through aquamation. The body dissolves in water and lime, pressure, heat. Leftover bone ash is mixed with ground oyster, shaped into coral, placed on reef. Seagrass roots and crabs click past your last gift to the brine that birthed our cells in salt. The centrifuge clicks twice, flicks off. I've rambled and forgot entirely about my book. Please forgive the tangents, but doesn't the brain just carve this kind of untamed root think? Someone comes to clamp the tubing, gather my blood, label the bag. A small vermilion droplet blinks. All done, a heart drop. I have one final thank you. I want to thank all of you for being here, physically present or online, and listening to all these beautiful poems. It's been a pleasure. I'll hand back. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Andy. I can see it was a very hard task indeed. And it is interesting, Andy did mention that we had entrance from the youth, highly recommended, as well in the adults. So just for all the entrance for next year, if you are a youth, you can enter the open section if you wish. You may even win it. So just letting you know that, and highly commended as well as the winner there. So thank you to Andy. What a great job and great reading. Thank you, Aloma, for helping Andy out there. Marie, do you have any final words to say before we give it a wrap for 2025?
Yeah, look, actually, I'd like to give a preview. Next year, early next year, keep your eyes out because I'm considering introducing a new category. I've got to be careful how I pronounce his name because sometimes it comes out very rude.
Ekphrasis?
Yes, an ekphrastic poem. If you don't know what that is, it's where the poet writes to a work of art. It doesn't mean that they describe it or whatever, they actually respond to it. Everyone will see it differently. So it can be a painting, a sculpture, a photograph. We're working with the Art Society, and about April, I'll introduce it.
Yes, and we will. And we also will continue to have our online poetry afternoon, which we hold in August in collaboration with Poetry Month. So look out for that as well. And that's why I do encourage, and I say everywhere, I encourage poets to put their poems online because we use them, and it really adds a bit of value to our online poetry afternoon. So please participate in that. Now, we always have our annual raffle, book raffle. I'm going to get my assistant up here, Billy, to pick out a number. Yeah, or you can get Mum to do it, you can hand it out, just shuffle. It's only the one book raffle. I'll raffle them. There you go, dig deep. C45. Anyone C45?
Maybe they're out in the foyer.
Snooze, you lose. Oh, Kathy Alexander. Okay. C27. Says John in here. John. C27. John. No, doesn't. Says John, but I can't read the surname. No, it doesn't. Is that Shield? King. Is it King? Is it? John King? No. Okay, will we pass that on to him? You got to be in the room. Go again. Put that one back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freddie, 49. Oh, well, there we go.
Oh,
Excellent.
now he should be penalised because he kept nicking out. I was giving him the evil
No,
eye.
he's the winning ticket. So thank you. You can give that and you can collect your thing. If you put your name down for the silent auction, see Non out and she'll help you out with who's the winner of that. So after we wrap up, I just want to quickly say, before again, thank you to the Lions Club, Emerald, Arts Alliance, our sponsors by Clementina, Emerald Ridge, Grace and Louis Bookshop, Emerald Village Pharmacy, Mitre 10, Woolworths, Celebration, IGA, Heavenly Saunders Australia, Emirates Jewellery. A big mention also to Laura Pedler and Aaron Praise for keeping our stomachs from rumbling. And finally, our tireless committee, Maria Millers, who needs no mention either, Nolene Blair, Phil Dwyer, Frank Leonard, and special thanks to Jane Blair and John Shields for getting things done. We are solely dependent on volunteer work, and we all do this for the growth and development of poetry and poets. So if you can donate, please donate. All monies go to expanding and evolving and developing this prize. And finally, a thank you to our poets, whose creativity and devotion to their craft is what makes this prize a prize worth entering and winning. So thank you to you all out there. And before I go, when you leave, a little gift to you from us and the Mistake of Reduction House that I won't mention, they made a little bit of an error, but you all get a reflection journey. And how good is that? How on point, I would say. And who knows, in those pages may end up containing the winning words of 2026 poetry. So grab your reflection journal and get that. And as T.S. Eliot said in closing, genuine poetry can communicate before it is understood. Such is the beauty and power of poetry. We say goodbye and we'll see you in 2026. Bye now. And stay for a drink if you like.